Yeah, we are. Our 3 vessels that we operate. Sure. We operate with a volunteer crew, and you know, we're very, very fortunate.
I mean, my maths may be incorrect, but that's about 20 person years.
You're quite right.
That's right.
It's having 20 people full time.
Indeed.
Okay. That's awesome.
We certainly have the records and the numbers if you ever wanted to pop down and see it on a day to day. It's incredible.
And we have the volunteer application forms if you'd like one as well.
Very covered.
Yeah, just a question around health and safety then. You're all over that?
Yes, we are indeed. We are actually partnering with Impact Services. The culture of health and safety in our museum is undergoing a serious change. And yes, I mean, we're doing a lot of asset renewal to accommodate the health and safety concerns that we do face, but most certainly we are very much all over it.
And a very quick last question. The issue around your enhanced budget, was that about this forward plan that you're talking about, essentially?
Very much about the forward plan, very much about that we're talking about here, but also recognising that in terms of our collections and areas like that too, we have a need to upgrade and to improve our collections facility. We now have the team in place, a fantastic team, and now it's to give them the facility to truly take that on board and enhance the care of our collection.
Okay. Thank you.
I'd just like to add to that one little thing that we need to really work on is the Polynesian migration. It's one area that we've got a little bit in there, but we need to cover more fully and have renew our exhibitions in that area, and that is a huge task for us, and one that we believe the Auckland Museum can help us out with.
Last question, Councillor Fletcher.
Oh, no, Mr. Chairman, I was just going to say that I would be happy to move this, but I would like to see some acknowledgement of the large number of volunteers that are working within the Voyager Maritime Museum. So if that could be a thanking.
We will incorporate that into our vote of thanks.
Thank you.
To Sam, to David, to Karen, thank you very much. It's a wonderful place to spend an afternoon. I've done it numerous times, thoroughly enjoy it. Our maritime history is something we need to all celebrate and be part of. So thank you for your great presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Been moved and seconded by Councillor Christine Fletcher and Wayne Walker. All those in favour?
Aye. Aye.
Against? Carried. Thank you very much, people.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our last presentation just this afternoon now is Water Safe Auckland. Johnny, thank you.
Kia ora tātou, councillors. Johnny Grit from Water Safe Auckland. Can I begin, please, with acknowledging Council and also the amenities in supporting Water Safe's work, because without that we wouldn't really be here. I mean, we certainly wouldn't be able to support the overall drive to reduce drowning. Nobody around this table will have missed the tragic situation over the summer holidays with 9 drownings. We had, tragically, an example of almost every type of drowning. We had little ones being given pools in the morning and unfortunately being lost in the afternoon. We had teenagers on surfboards trying them out and being lost on the west coast. We had losses over the bar in Manukau, and we had boys on a beach they weren't familiar with also losing their lives. And that wouldn't be lost on anybody. What probably councillors might not know is the Auckland picture is a little brighter. Last year for the Auckland region we lost 14. Too many, of course, but that's the lowest figure since 2006. And if we were looking at the national picture, Auckland is about 12th out of 15 regions. So there's a heck of a lot of work to be done, but given that we've got a third of the population and the most diverse population, that's just really to set some context. To answer the questions that you've asked of us this morning, in terms of what does WIDE do, basically we're a preventative educational intervention, and defined by our mission really, preventing drowning through education. Now, how we do that really is through 4 mechanisms. We have historically had a lot of teachers in the organisation, and that's allowed us to connect with teachers in terms of providing professional support. That might take the form of a one-on-one with a teacher or with a group of teachers. And the emphasis really there in that energy has been around the primary school space historically, but also with tertiary teachers, soon-to-be teachers in the tertiary institutions. The second way in which we engage is through programs, and you will be familiar with some of the programs that we work on. So for the obvious ones being Whananui, generally has taken place in the new year, where we're trying to get parents, caregivers, older siblings in the water with the little ones. It's about water confidence for the little ones. It's about active supervision and encouraging that for the adults. Other programs in that space would be specific programs targeting high-risk groups. We have a YWISE program, which starts with theory in the classroom, goes on to practical lessons being applied in pools, and then we work with partners in other environments. So that might be surf up the beach and providing a hand on to them to do more of a place-based approach, or indeed with other partners. And the other things in the community space would be things like life jacket loan schemes, and I'll come back to those. The third area is really something that's built up over 20 years. We've built up a pretty strong repository of guides and information, most of which is fully translated. I'm pleased to say we've just translated a whole WaterSafe Māori guide to add to the mix of Korean and Chinese and others. And that actually provides, we've revamped the website to provide easier access to a wealth of resources that not only the educational channel makes use of in the region, but also further afield and in fact internationally. The fourth stream of how we do our connection is really through an event strategy, really. You may be aware at different events around the region that WaterSafe would be there. It's fairly light touch, but it's just another chance to drop that water consciousness into the equation. So those would be the mechanisms, and obviously, often for the worst reasons, we get a bit of airtime in terms of newspapers and radio. This year's been quite good in that sense, particularly with the Asian community, which is significant because the population of Auckland is changing with a very strong increase in the Asian community. We've been able to get on 5 or 6 times on Chinese TV, and that's accessing, for us, a whole new audience, about between 30,000 and 40,000 extra people when we can do it. But as I say, that's light touch. I wouldn't overplay that. So essentially, that's the way we connect. The 3 channels we connect through are that education piece. What we're working on is expanding now into the secondary school space, and in line with what the drowning statistics are telling us, driving down into the early childhood space. So our engagement now is really that whole full column of education, ECE, where we provide resources that they can start to use in the kindergartens and in the early childhood centres, through primary, as we've done in the past, now into secondary. And what we're combining with the secondary space is vocational programs. So we're actually working with youth who come in, they get our water safety, our water competence messages, but they also leave with qualifications. So they become pool lifeguards and assistant swim teaching instructors. And that's quite deliberate. We're getting a youth to employment transition win, but we, rather selfishly, are getting a chance to input the water competence, the water safety messages, and the young people go away able to work during the holidays or actually help support some of our programs. So that's quite good. The community channel space and things we're working on there is, I'm firmly of the belief that the way forward in a challenging funding environment, despite the fact we're blessed with council support and amenity support, is trying to move to more community-led initiatives. So we've got a trial at the moment in a couple of areas. We know there's no silver bullets on infrastructure, so there's not going to be any more pools in schools, as it were. But we're working with one school there, providing our PD and support to the teachers and the staff and the pupils, but we're also trying to hook in the early childhood centres that connect with that hub, and the intent is then to connect with the local community and in time, hopefully, even local businesses. The things we're pleased about in that space, in that community space, are particularly pleased with, are how some of the communities are now coming to us and wanting to take ownership. The Pacifica community, notably last year, we've set up life jacket hubs with the Tongan churches, and we give them life jackets, and the ministers sign a memorandum with us and talk about water safety. We give them some of the resources, but the only kickback, if you like, is that we ask to come back in and do water safety programs with those congregations. So that's great, because that all plays to the essence of WaterSafe, which is it's a multiplier model. We only have 9 staff plus about 10 volunteers. So we need to facilitate and educate others, teach the teacher, train the trainer, so that they can ripple out the effect of what we're doing. So the Tongan Church piece, I think, is very exciting. The area that we wish to develop this coming year really is in direct response to the majority of drownings. 80% of drownings are males, and despite myths. Most of them are Pakeha by number. There is overrepresentation, particularly in some of the other ethnic groups. Maori are 20% of the drowning stats, and obviously 12 to 15% of the population, so there's work needed to be done there. But the reality is the men are at work, and many of them are disinclined to come to do swimming lessons, so we need to reach them in different ways. And we've already started doing that with, for example, providing a water safe component as part of a health and safety provision that an employer is giving his employees. So that's quite a light touch, easy way of doing it. We also feel that there's an opportunity to actually use the wonderful medium of aquatics to provide team building, but use it as an opportunity to get some strong water safety messaging in that. So that's a stream of work that we're excited about going forward. To do that, you can't do that in Grafton, where we've been based for, I think, about 12 years prior to my time. So we are working on a move, and I'm pleased to say we're about to sign a move that will allow us to get some direct water access down towards West Haven. That will help us actually on two levels, I think, with a bit more profile, so people understand a bit more what we do and how we do it, but also to begin to work on that work channel. So essentially it's 4 streams of engagement, from professional support through programs and program development with others and with partners, resources and information through the web, and events and coordinating activity around that through those 3 channels of education, community and workplace. And I think things that I'd be pleased about in the year that I've been there is the life jacket loan scheme, another scheme that's risen in terms of its use. That's outside of what we're doing directly with schools. We've seen a 50% lift there, so from 25 schools to 40 schools, just using our gear and using our resources to do their own thing, helping multiply the message. I think the Muslim-only swimming project's been very successful. And one project that you will be aware of is the land-based fishing program, where one of the things I think distinguishes why is our belief about this importance of water competence and a research-based approach. And certainly the workshops that have come out of that research and have led to delivery across the region, we've seen in the last 5 to 6 years a situation where 3 to 4% wearing of life jackets has now risen towards 40%. And last year we didn't lose anybody to the rocks off of Muruwai. A few people went in the water, and certainly on the last occasion, fortunately they all came out because they were all wearing life jackets. We've lost one this year. So looking forward, what I'd hope for, what we're working on, I'd like to see a reinvigorated approach for why. I think we need that. We've been blessed by getting funding from the Ministry of Social Development, and we've just gone through a review that is about to allow me to facilitate a discussion about the way we do what we do. I'd like us to, as an organisation, to be more reflective of the communities that we are here to support, and I think we can achieve that with dedication into for Māori particularly, but also the Asian communities. I'd like us to have a new home with water access, because I think we need to move to a place-based approach. We can teach them in the classroom, we can train them in the pool, but they drown on the beaches and the rivers. That's the reality. So we need to think about how do we bring that knowledge into the frame as it's beyond just learning swimming strokes. And I'd really like to get a paradigm shift so people understand that learning to swim is absolutely critical, but there's other elements that we've got to get people thinking about, and I'm hopeful that with council support we can achieve that. Finally, I'd just say we're trying to improve our internal operations, so we've revamped websites, we've brought in a CRM system, so we're actually going to get much more robust about the true impact of our work in terms of the numbers we're reaching, and the effect we're having, the actual impact rather than the output. But that will take a little bit of time to come through, so this year is very much establishing a benchmark for that. So I thank Council for listening to me. If there are any questions, I'm very happy to take them.
Thank you very much, Johnny. We have a wonderful coastline and we have wonderful waterways, rivers and lakes, but they can be dangerous, and we do have some statistics that come through that shock us. In some cases, they've personally affected people. So thank you for the work you do. For every child to learn to swim, and for every adult who can't to learn to swim would be a great feat and a great challenge, but also a great asset for our community. Questions? We have Councillor Fletcher.
Well, thank you. You've touched on, in part, the question that I have, and that relates there is a body of work underway within council looking at the sustainability of sports, and as part of that it will be looking at the numbers of swimming pools and the provision of swimming pools and all of those sorts of things. And it's of concern to me at the moment that we're spending a huge amount of money quite correctly trying to ensure that children have access to pools so that they can learn to swim. But in terms of the amount of money we're investing there, we're not really acknowledging that while you can be proficient in a pool, that doesn't translate into a marine or river type situation. So I guess I'm interested to know what policy work we can do with you to ensure that we can get that real integration across the council family of where the investment is going in to absolutely ensure that we can prevent deaths unnecessarily. So it's probably a long-term goal to work to that, but I do think council has to be willing to review where our investments are at the moment and make sure that we are being effective, if you want to comment on that.
Yes, I mean, I think the reality is clearly there's a need for more facilities, but we, you know, living in the real world, the ability to finance those things is not straightforward. And I know that you know, there's been there's having to be a bit of a pullback in on what's achievable at the moment. But the pools are only part of it. You know, if the research, you know, indicates as it does that you know, we've got to spend more concentration around rivers in particular, then I think there's work that could be done on investing resources and actually manpower in that space. I think maybe there's a role for council to help us advocate at the top level, because my view would be that the health vote and the education vote, particularly the education vote, needs to be worked on, even if it were freeing up school boards. You know, I sit on a school board. Even if it was freeing up their ability to use some of their OPEX spend on their pools. You know, there's things we can do with the infrastructure that exists. It would be great if there were more pools, but I think there. You know,
so you would be encouraging, for instance, then the Ministry of Education and Council Parks to be working more closely together.
I think that could only be a good thing.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Excuse me, Councillor Penrose.